Hey guys, Ron here, and a year ago there was a Twitter trend that was started by Lizard Artistry where people swapped the evolutions of various lines. Twice now I've borrowed the idea and took the unevolved form of an evolution line and reimagined it as if it was a final evolution, and took the concept of the final evolution and reduced it to a more simplified and diminutive pre-evolved form. It's a perfect glimpse into a world where Pokemon just grow up instead of evolving into new stages with new concepts like most Pokemon do. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend you check them out after this. Now let's make some more, but before we begin, consider becoming a patron or pressing the join button to get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early or discounts on merch, because with your support, experimental videos like this will keep on coming. But before we create these backwards evolutions, you need to witness the forward evolutions of the Elestrals franchise with today's sponsor, Elestrals Awakened. Elestrals is a trading card game made by people you already know and love. I've opened a bunch of packs on stream, and even my friends like Phoebe have illustrated cards for them. Well, now they need your help to launch their new video game, Elestrals Awakened, a 2.5D pixel art monster catching RPG that fuses the TCG that fellow PokeTuber A-Drive created with the mind of Shady Penguin, who is working as this RPG's creative director. Both of these creators have been on this channel, so you know they have good taste. I mean, they chose the exact art style that I think most of you would love to see in a monster tamer game. So now is your chance to finally support a PokeTuber created video game that fuses Greek mythology with elemental combat. The Kickstarter for this game ends on November 7th, so I need you guys to hurry up and check out the campaign already. I mean, it only takes a few seconds to understand how grand this project is. Not only will you be able to say that you were part of the reason this highly anticipated game exists, but by backing the Kickstarter, you can obtain alpha and beta access, receive exclusive in-game unlocks, and even become an NPC or caster in-game. And when Elestrals Awakened is out, you will instantly bond with 100 plus Elestrals that you can use to battle and alter the overworld, as you explore dungeons, solve puzzles, find treasure, and ascend your Elestrals into more powerful forms. So click the link in the description and pinned comment to back the Elestrals Awakened Kickstarter campaign before it's too late. The Pelipper line is more perfect than you think for this, because you have two Pokemon with complete different shapes and personalities here, so making what could look like a more traditional Wingull evolution, as if it were a Gen 1 or 2 Pokemon, and a cute little Pelican with all the personality of a Pelipper, may just end up making this Evo swap the best in the series. We're starting off strong. So imagine a chibi Pelipper. Dude already has a giant beak, so toning it down and still making it have an above average sized beak is kinda easy. The eyes are perfect for a child, and the body is already fairly minimal. What we want to keep are those finger wings. Those will stay practically the same size, which takes away the focus from its beak to its wings, so that the gimmick is different from normal Pelipper, which is all about the beak. The colors are also very inviting. Wingull is all about gliding in the air, so what if we took a bit more inspiration from a seabird like an albatross and gave it huge wings? It'll still look like something that feels exactly at home in Hoenn. Gotta make the head look super aerodynamic. It'll look like it can travel the entire region without touching the ground. Since it'll be in the air longer, a bit more feathers to showcase how fluffy it is will help feel like it's both wilder and needs more protection from the cold air. And there they are. Such a seamless transportation. Seamless transformation. Pelipper's odd shapes are enough to make such a personality-filled unevolved Pokemon, which I kinda like more than Pelipper, honestly. And the aerodynamic look of Wingull lends itself to a more powerful-looking bird. Again, while the goal of this video isn't to make these look like they can evolve into each other, technically these two make as much sense as an evolutionary line as the real Pelipper and Wingull, who kinda don't look like each other. The Tadpole line is interesting because they showcase a natural real-world progression from tadpole to frog, and even a bulb to a dynamo light thing. The point is, they were very much baby into adult. That means that an adult tadbulb would naturally be a frog, but then it would look nothing like a tadbulb, so instead I'm going to turn it into a long, lamp-shaped serpent, while Bellibolt will honestly be a treat to turn small since it already has the face and features of a cute Pokemon, so we're just going to shrink him in every way, and it'll totally work. Once again, I'm just cheapifying the final evolution. We don't want to turn it into a tadpole or else it would just end up having the same concept as a tadbulb. Instead, I'll make it a froglet, the stage between a tadpole and a frog. What was neat is that Bellibolt has those arrow patterns, so I turned them upside down to give it a little heart on the thighs. It's inspired by those squishy nightlights that kids have, and now it's definitely going from a Pokemon that I kinda dislike to one that I would absolutely love. And Tadbulb is going to be stretched out and gain a whole lamp motif, maybe a portable lamp that can attach to things with its tail. The cute face of a Tadbulb can easily be turned into something more sinister looking just by tweaking the proportions of the face, of the smile, and making its entire face black also makes it a bit shadier. Now this is a more interesting line, I think, and honestly this design of a bulb inside a lamp could totally have been a fully evolved Tadbulb. Probably a perfect showcase of what this video is all about, because I kind of found a clever way to expand on Tadbulb's concept while still making it clearly a Tadbulb. But there are more to be made. The Golem line will be fun, because Geodude is already a pretty aggressive looking mon that could easily be turned into a more hulking monster, and Golem is kind of the softest and most refined in its line, so simply babyfying it would be enough. I've always liked Golem, but over the years I've discovered that many fans don't, so turning him cute may bring a bunch of people around. Golem always gave me a reptilian vibe, so making a Prevo version that looks a bit like a bipedal turtle outside of its shell feels correct. But at the end of the day, Golem is one of the simplest rock types conceptually, considering it's a Gen 1 Pokemon, so coming up with an even simpler concept is hard, but thankfully Gen 1 designs are a bit more detailed, so streamlining the design isn't hard. Geodude is fairly complex for a Prevo, so in order to change it, all I have to do is make those arms feel like pile drivers. Geodude is just a rock with arms, that's the entire concept, but in order to give it a more complex idea, I'll make it look like it actually gets around using those huge arms. Instead of a friendly dude, this guy would chase you out of its territory. It's also made of a lot of small sedimentary rocks like Graveler, instead of just one big rock. Helps give it the complexity of a final stage Pokemon. I was most excited to see Geodude as a fully evolved Pokemon, and it paid off. Since dude's made of a bunch of rocks now, it was fun being more loose with my drawing. He's menacing while clearly being a Geodude. And while the Golem is cute, I do wish I went with my initial concept of having its head inside of the rocky shell like a turtle, but then that would have obscured the face and made it simply look like a Golem inside of its shell instead of a baby Golem with a cute face. I'm sure I could have found a middle ground if I tried, but for now, it serves its purpose. Now, Remoraid and Octillery are super famous for looking nothing like each other, which, as you've seen, makes them perfect contenders, since we don't have to worry about these Pokemon ending up looking like, too much like each other when they evolve. Like, I can't just include Pokemon like Pidgeot and Pidgey in these videos because they look too much like adult and baby versions of each other, instead of standing out on their own like a Torchic or Blaziken. Here we can simply expand upon Remoraid to make it look like a bigger gun, going from a revolver to a shotgun, maybe, and Octillery is already relatively bare bones, so a child Octillery that looks like more of a beginner sharpshooter is very doable. So what if Octillery was more of an Octorok basically, but had those goggles that are inspired by the glasses you'd wear when going out shooting? It's a small detail that helps it look more like a novice. As opposed to Remoraid, which is a straight up gun, that's just a gun. Longer, like a shotgun, but honestly I tried to make the mouth work, but I think the line would be more cohesive and this design would feel less like a long Remoraid if I gave it a barrel nose and placed the mouth, down there. It also allows us to give it more fierce eyes. Remoraid always felt like it had the intelligence of a real fish, while now this design feels more like a fantastical creature with emotions. Weirdly, they look a bit more related now that Remoraid has a barrel nose, but honestly, I could totally see these two as standalone Pokemon. I love how Octillery looks even more like a low-level fantasy RPG enemy, and Remoraid becomes even more of a gun. That's what this video is all about. Ludicolo and Lotad will be a treat to swap. A tiny and festive Ludicolo with an oversized hat and fruit is easy to do, and taking Lotad and turning it into a swamp monster that could carry other tiny Pokemon on its giant lily pad is totally the direction to go in. This is also a perfect swap because the final evolution in this line already acts like a fun child, and the Prevo is more aloof and calm, so they already have the essence and personality of what we're about to make. Kind of forgot the beginning of the process for this one, which sucks because this may be the best one in the video. I mean, a happy little Ludicolo where his body hasn't grown to fit its fruit is adorable. The brim and patterns are much simpler. It's cleaner compared to Ludicolo, which honestly has more of a rough, festive look with a lot of details. Giant Lotad is tough because I want to capture the same stare that Lotad has. Problem is that stare is cute on a child, but creepy on an adult, and I want this to still be likable. I'm taking inspiration from a tardigrade and an aircraft carrier, which, again, it'll carry maybe little Lotads on it. In order for it to blend in with its environment even more, long seaweed helps fill in this, that empty space on its body. Off screen, I added some patterns to help give it the complexity of a final evolution. Yo, I'm so proud of this chibi Ludicolo. It looks like something I'd see in the anime or a spin-off game. It feels like a mascot for a restaurant in the Pokemon world. Heck, I'd use it as my own channel mascot if I wasn't so attached to my current branding. You can call him Lil Colo or Ludicolito. And it was tough making this Lotad because I had to come up with new attributes like the leaves and patterns so that it didn't feel like a stretched out Lotad, but in the end I do like it. Now you might think Gible and Garchomp are perfect examples of lines that wouldn't work in this video, since Gible very much looks like a baby Garchomp, so wouldn't making it older just make it look like Cynthia's ace? Well, no, because the whole gimmick of a Gible is that it's round and always has its mouth open, so why not turn it into a ravenous black hole that eats everything? An even scarier monster than Garchomp, because when a baby eats and bites things, it's cute, but taking that concept and giving it to something huge changes the context completely. And a smaller Garchomp would end up looking too much like a Gabite, so we basically have to avoid that. That'll be a challenge. But I can't deny this is just a Garchomp as a child, taking literally every aspect and either streamlining it, shortening it, or removing it completely, so that it's not as complex as a Pokemon with, a 600 base stat total. But it totally works. You know the progression from Riolu to Lucario? It's giving the same vibes. Basically, what if Garchomp's Prevo was akin to Riolu? On the other hand, fully evolved Gible will be nightmare fuel. I'm giving it this new ring motif that stems from its existing patterns, but now it emphasizes the whole concept of this being just a big black hole. I know we already have Guzzlord, so I did my best trying to not imitate that Ultra Beast, but taking all the patterns that Gible already has and segmenting them, as well as giving it a pose as if the camera is from a low angle looking, upwards towards it, really helps aid in making this look large, despite having kind of similar proportions to a tiny Gible. Now this is successful. Maybe too successful. I turned Gible into such a threatening monster that it looks way scarier than the average fully evolved form. It's a pseudo-legendary, so I guess it's allowed to be a bit more intimidating, but I was very much scared I would just make it look like a wider Gible. But it came out great, especially with the wormhole motifs. Baby Garchomp is literally just Baby Garchomp, but hey, it's not like I can turn it into a Gible. It's a good look into an alternative world where Pokemon age up instead of evolving. And now, Florges line was a last-minute addition, because I thought they would have such a natural progression that reversing their line wouldn't showcase anything new, but imagine if Flabebe became a lady with a flower umbrella, and instead of being on top of a flower like Flabebe, a tiny Florges would have a giant flower petal mane, and the plants were actually incorporated into the body, unlike Flabebe, which holds a flower. So what if Florges was a little girl with wild flower hair and an oversized dress? I actually love how I turned Florges' dress patterns into more of like a silly clown-like outfit. I mean, flowers don't necessarily have to mean pretty and elegant, they can also mean happiness and innocence. The little flower on the head that looks like a bow ties it all together too. I can't believe this works and makes so much sense. Now I think nailing the pose for a more mature Flabebe is key. I'm an idiot for not really looking at reference when drawing this, one of the only ones I didn't. I naturally turned its ears into a ponytail since I had to use that little crown on its head as a stylish scrunchie, like a hair tie. But its face now felt a bit barren, so I brought back those ear-like frills to frame the face beautifully. Coupled with patterns that make it look like a mermaid and far more elegant eyes with eyeshadow that would still feel like a natural progression from Flabebe's eyes, made this design feel as complete as any other final evolution. Like, it's not missing any details, honestly. Now this was the one I was scared of the most, because I didn't want to mistakenly turn Flabebe into a Floette, since technically this final evolution version does share a concept with Floette, but it definitely looks more like a final Evo than Floette does, and has a completely different aesthetic. It's also tough making a humanoid fairy type because you don't really have an animal for inspiration, but I'm very satisfied with what this became. And Baby Florges is unexpectedly the funniest creation today. It looks like it was hit with a baby ray. Honestly, every aspect translated perfectly, so I'm very happy we saved this for last. But this doesn't have to be the last episode in the series. If you want to see a part 4, please leave a like and subscribe, and check out the previous videos and all my other Fakemon videos as well. Check the description for all the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you could also do by clicking the join button and becoming a YouTube member. It would be awesome if you followed me on Twitter and Blue Sky where I show sneak peeks of these designs, but I'll see you guys very soon regardless. Bye!